What we seem to have here is a new AAA title that has as much filler as dog food that Max consumes in the Wastelands, and oh boy, is it tasty. A little over 40 hours total into the game, I realized it's mostly filler and very little meat. What story is there ends up feeling hollow and lackluster. I kept digging to see if there was maybe something I missed. Nope. Majority of the game feels pretty empty. It's either camps, which help you gain scrap, or you find scrap, whether it's scavenging sites. Then there's the history relics, which provides some insight into the game's apocalyptic setting. I will say I was genuinely excited to play an open world Mad Max title, and had what felt like a promising experience between getting introduced to Dinky Din in Chum Bucket. It felt like this experience was going to be different. Then when I noticed that none of the car bodies had any stat difference, that was one thing. The other thing was noticing each car body was unlockable by finding it in a location in the wasteland that the game specifies. Although, on the topic of car bodies, not differing anyway, but appearance, you can say that was due to the body being just a body being slapped on top of a frame, and that ultimately let the player really choose what they wanted instead of being restricted to one thing or the other, because it was better. The final sign that I saw that this game was going to be dead easy was how quickly Max's skills progressed and how easy it was to achieve anything in this game. I was maxed out far too quickly, and the problem with that is it makes everything else too easy, especially the final story missions, as they are tailored to the, well, as I would put it, extreme casual hasn't taken time or effort to progress further than the base story. You get what's known as Griffa tokens to level up certain skills, and those come by like dust collecting on equipment pretty often. And once you're maxed out, it makes doing anything else pointless. It's on a level that developers should be a little ashamed they made everything so juvenile in difficulty. The majority of the gameplay is unfortunately going to enemy camps and scavenging sites, which when it comes down to ground combat is easily the game's weakest point. The enemy AI is useless. Combat is uninspired Batman style single button mashing till all the baddies take dirt naps. Which is not to say it wasn't bad, it just got bland real quick. The final confrontation with Scrotus is a joke too. Much easier than the top dog bosses, which still were a joke too. And they can all be beaten with the same cheap ass moves, each and every time. Another thing I found was that there was not enough variety in the bosses. They all looked generic. They all had the same model with a little bit of a different texture that represented the color that you unlocked by beating them. I mean, they had something going to them. They had personality and some clever names, and nothing after that, which is surprising. On the subject of enemy camps, they all felt all too similar and a little bit too boring. The only moderately interesting ones were the bridges, and the big standout was the Grease Pit camp, where you drove around Mad Max style, harpooning things and blowing shit up with the Thunderpoon. Why the hell weren't there more camps like this? I have no idea. What we got was the same boring arrangement. Most of the camps were dead easy, because you can just snipe the defense, run in, rush the objective, and be done. And then you go on your merry way collecting everything stress-free that's in that area. After that, it all boils down to, again, mindless face punching, getting rid of the war crier / buffer, and more punching. This was especially so in the few stake camps where the objective, as ridiculous as it was to punch a whole mess of goons. This was probably the least enjoyable part of the game because it just dragged on. You could get creative with some of the areas if they gave you the option, which oddly enough I can say on the stay income camps there wasn't enough creativity to end the enemies in such creative ways as in the Warboy camps. One thing that really stands out that doesn't make a whole lot of sense in this game is this all-inclusive scrap system. I can see it being collected from the camps and some things, but for everything and anything, it's just lazy game development. I would love to see the upgrades from Max and his magnum opus to be scattered throughout camps and the scavenge nonsense that was ultimately felt like filler. You can see that with very few upgrades, such as there's a certain pair of tires you can find by unlocking them that way. And that shows that the idea was kind of there, but it was never exactly fleshed out, which I would have, like I said, I would love to have seen that. It would have added more to the game and more sense to do them. It would have tied the whole Mad Max universe that they've got going already properly. The topic of game bugs, there was almost none. The only few I've seen was enemy getting stuck behind a wall in certain spots, and the major place I saw this happen was Jugular Canyon, which is a stank gum camp. There's a few other stank gum camps that this happens, but they end up dying, so it's a beneficial thing. And in the case of Jugular Canyon, the way I fixed that was I had to leave the camp, go a few kilometers, and come back. And I'd come back and I'd re-glitch themselves, so I had to find a way around that. Now, other weird bugs sometimes happen with physics, and I only saw it twice in the game when I was playing it the first time through, where some enemy loaded into barrel space, ending up blowing up the whole damn camp's objective without me ever entering. Sadly, I did not get this captured, but trust me, it does happen, and when it does, it's amusing. Now, I share the same view as other reviewers when they mention a game should be some seriously packed 3 to 4 hour experience instead of this big expansive thing with not a lot of things to actually do. It boils down to the price of admission versus amount given back. As the other points I've mentioned, there was a lot that could have been done, but was never really delivered in any desirable form. Yes, as a lot of people have seen and said, the game is extremely well optimized. I was seeing a constant 60 frames per second with the build you see in the info. Only place I saw a drop, and it was less than 10 frames, was in the Rots and Rust region. It was minor, but as I said, it was there, and it's due to that area being denser than the rest of the game. Other than that, it runs great on a lot of systems. Sure, it's missing a proper FOV slider, and I wished I could have disabled the depth of field completely, but I can understand that it being there is a placement to hide low resolution textures that are at extreme distance, which nothing I'm gonna nitpick at. Other than that, it's a pretty looking game, and it's a little different in comparison to a lot of other open world games in the sense the setting mainly, but not different enough to warrant putting down $60. I would say either get it on a sale that's around right now, or wait till it drops in price, or there's a game of the year with everything that they're possibly going to include, because this feels like it's going to be another DLC quest, which I'm not sure if it's Warner Brothers doing or Avalanche not learning from previous games they've produced, but as I said before, this game felt like it had a lot going for it, and I mean there's a ton that's there, but it was never fleshed out, or at least didn't feel like that in my playthrough of 40 plus ungodly amount of hours put in, and the second time through to make sure I caught everything again, that I wasn't just seeing certain things. Final words, the Mad Max franchise is pretty well known, and those were some dusty, well-worn, big shoes to fill, and they were neither close, but not far with what they delivered. They were exactly where they should be for a generic audience. Everybody can enjoy this game, in my opinion. Just about everybody. Anybody that enjoys combat that's brutal and some car combat, if that's your thing, then I recommend the game. But otherwise, as I said, wait till the price drops. You'll appreciate it then much more. Alright, thanks for listening to me ramble again on about a game. If you find this interesting, just add a comment, and just comment, like, subscribe, do whatever you feel like, guys. Later.